Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching. It is 11 a.m. local time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and we are live right now on this gorgeous Tuesday. But there's a lot of trouble in the world right now. We are going to be covering all of it, starting with Attorney General Pam Bondi, Trump's top cop in the country, Pam Bondi. Remember, Donald Trump previously pushed very hard for Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General of the United States. Think about that. And he was convicted of paying a 17-year-old for sex, and he used illegal drugs while doing so. That's the guy that Trump initially wanted really badly to be the top law enforcer in the country. But now it's Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, who got grilled by members of the Senate today on both sides of the aisle. People are really not happy with her. They don't like the fact that she really hyped up releasing the Epstein Files, then decided not to release them at all. So we will get everybody that coverage so everybody can be aware of the absolute embarrassment that Pam Bondi has been for our country. Beyond that, Donald Trump met with Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Unfortunately, Mark Carney was kissing Trump's ass this morning. Really, strategically, it was because Mark Carney knows he has to just kiss Trump's ass in order to get what he wants. I'm sure behind closed doors, Mark Carney is not a huge fan of Trump, but also Mark Carney is an establishment liberal. He's by no means a revolutionary leftist. It was good when he won because he beat Mini Trump, aka Pierre Poilievre. He helped prevent Canada from sliding into fascism as well. But they had a meeting just a few minutes ago in the Oval Office, so we'll be covering that as well. Hey, if you're new here, make sure you've clicked the like button on the video. Make sure you've subscribed. If you're returning, leave a chat. Let me know what you're up to today, how you're feeling about everything. And ask a friend today. Ask somebody you meet in the streets. Say, what do you think about everything that's going on? And just leave it at that. Don't even make it political. Just ask them what they think about the world right now and let them tell you what they think. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say that they don't feel very comfortable about the society we live in because things are not working for most people. I'm going to go ahead and go live on TikTok as well as a kind of a way to channel new viewers. We'll be doing that until this channel really starts to take off on its own. But for now, we got to introduce our audience. And now we will get that going as well. Thanks for being here, everybody. Let's take a look right now. Let me make sure this works too, by the way. See, I knew it. I knew it wasn't going to work. Let me get this going. It's like I always got to redo this every single time. Make sure that you guys can see the screen that we are looking at right now. My built-in Retina screen, perfect, fantastic. Get this nice and small for you guys. Awesome, possum. Great. Let's dive in now. Let's look at what Attorney General Pam Bondi had to say in this hearing held by Senate Democrats. Really, it was held by the Senate Judiciary Committee, which has Republicans on it as well. And nobody seems to be happy with Pam Bondi because she is completely hiding the Epstein Files. And she is the reason why right now we don't know where the files are. And right now, the reason why pedophiles are being protected by this administration. Let's take a look at this. Skipping ahead to where she starts. Here she comes.
I welcome everybody to our Judiciary Committee's annual Justice Department oversight hearing. But before I and Durbin give our opening statement, I want to say this is the second anniversary of Hamas invading the sovereign state of Israel. Yesterday, I had some Palestinian advocates talk to me about the number of people being killed. I like to remind them there wouldn't be one death if there hadn't been this invasion of the sovereign state of Israel.
Come on, man. You're better than this. You seem like a smart man. You're an old man. You're supposed to have wisdom. You're supposed to have years of knowledge. You're probably 4 times my age. You should know better. Okay? You should understand that this has nothing to do with the hostages anymore. They're brutally, mercilessly killing people. Okay? But wrap up your spiel because I want to hear from Pam Bondi.
By what happened 2 years ago today. Attorney General Bondi, since your confirmation, you've now had the opportunity to face the federal bureaucracy that you must reform to better serve the American people. As I said to Director Patel, your charter is no simple task. When you arrived, you were left with the Justice Department free fall. Senate Democrats have denied your leadership personnel. We haven't been able to confirm your Assistant Attorney General for Congressional Affairs. It's now been 7 months. All the while, Democrats complain that they can't get answers from the Office of Leg Affairs. They have blocked the confirmation of that person. Since your confirmation, you've taken steps.
By the way, to the almost 100 people watching on TikTok, I just went live on YouTube where you can actually watch this breaking news coverage that I have pulled up on my screen. So come over to YouTube, just search Josh the Progressive or go to the link in my bio. Let me know in the YouTube chat that you came from TikTok so that I know you made it good and that you made it successfully. That's going to be the best way to watch this. And I may only be on TikTok for a little bit longer, so come watch on YouTube. Thank you. Let's continue listening to this. Pam Bondi testifying.
Dollars in criminal fines and penalties from corporate offenders. That's money should have been placed in the Crime Victims Fund, and much of the money of the past administration did collect went to the Justice Department slush funds instead of aiding victims of criminals and violent activity. My Democratic colleagues have shared concerns about funding agency and law enforcement, but generally haven't supported funding programs. Under the Democrat leadership, the COPS reauthorization was held over in committee at least 8 times before the 118th Congress concluded. It never received a vote in this committee. More recently, Democrats have refused to support fundamental Justice Department programs like Protect Safe Neighborhoods. And last week, Democrats again blocked most of the Police Week bills from passing the Senate, even though they passed out of this committee unanimously. In contrast to these...
I'm sorry, this is why we need age limits, and it's not to be ageist, but people like this clearly are not representing the country. We're talking nonsense here right now. Nothing he's saying is based in reality, and really all of our time is being wasted. Let me skip ahead a little bit to when we can start to hear from Pam Bondi.
Connections to Attorney General Bondi seem to yield more favorable outcomes for defendants. At least 2 long-running federal prosecutions were abruptly dropped after the defendants hired your brother. It's no surprise that Ed Morton, the failed U.S. Attorney nominee you appointed as senior official, said, quote, "No MAGA left behind." Our nation's top law enforcement agency has become a shield for the president and his political allies when they engage in misconduct. Last year, President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, was allegedly recorded accepting a $50,000 bag of cash in exchange for promising immigration enforcement-related contracts. Under your leadership, the investigation into Mr. Homan was dropped. After President Trump pardoned nearly 1,600 January 6 insurrectionists, including more than 600 charged with assaulting or impeding law enforcement, the Department of Justice is arguing in court that these pardons provide immunity for wholly unrelated crimes in multiple cases. Jared Weiss was filmed on January 6th encouraging his fellow rioters to attack the Metropolitan Police Department officers. And he said, F them, kill them. What happened to Mr. Weiss? He's been hired by you as a senior advisor.
Wow. Wow. Way to just put it to her. I mean, seriously, this party acts like they're the Blue Lives Matter party, and all their brown shirts are on video beating the shit out of police officers. Uh, it's pathetic. Good morning, Nate. Good morning, Catherine. Thanks for being here. Bears off this week, but how about the Jaguars? Yeah, I saw that. Look, the Bears got a big game against the Commanders coming up, and that's the repeat of the Hail Mary game last year where the Bears season totally collapsed. Anyway, let's keep watching. By the way, again, if you're on TikTok, come watch on YouTube. That's where I'm reading my chat. So just search Josh the Progressive or go to the link in my bio. And all my true fans are on YouTube, so come watch there.
In February, you said the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review. 8 months later, you still haven't produced these files, and a credible whistleblower told my office that FBI agents were directed to flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned.
True.
The Department of Justice ordered the dismissal of corruption charges against the former New York City Mayor Eric Adams in a corrupt backroom deal to secure his...
Literally, their job is to pursue justice. Their job is to execute the laws of the land, and everything this administration does is the exact opposite. It's like every opportunity they get to break a law, to do something corrupt, to do something shady, they always do it. They're not even good at their own fascism. They're not even good at being authoritarians. Like, they're such bumbling idiots. They can easily just steamroll our democracy. The guardrails are gone, and yet they keep making it harder on themselves. That's the one saving grace. That's the one thing that gives me hope, is they could destroy our country, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot.
His cooperation with the president's immigration agenda. Acting U.S. Attorney Daniel Sassoon, a Republican appointed by President Trump, resigned in protest. Acting U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Siebert, a Republican appointed by President Trump, was forced to resign because he didn't believe there was sufficient evidence to indict New York Attorney General Letitia Adams or former FBI Director James Comey. In his place, President Trump installed his former personal attorney, someone with no prosecutorial experience, to indict Director Comey, which she did. She joins a network of unqualified MAGA loyalists masquerading as federal prosecutors, like Alina Habba, who said she would use her position to, quote, turn New Jersey red, close quote, and Sigal Chattah,
Hey, Shell, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching on
was,
YouTube.
quote, should be hanging from an effing crane, end of quote. The president and attorney general attempted to bypass the Senate to install these unqualified extremists. Where do you find these people? Courts have ruled that both Ms. Habba and Ms. Chattah are serving in their roles illegally, jeopardizing countless prosecutions by your office. Why? And that's just one example of how the Department of Justice is making America less safe. Attorney General Bondi shut down the Organized Crime and Drug Enforcement Task Force, OSADEF, which has dismantled thousands of criminal organizations. And you diverted thousands of FBI, DEA, and ATF agents and DOJ prosecutors from their critical missions to carry out the president's mass deportation agenda. Attorney General Bondi, not surprisingly, federal drug prosecutions have dropped to the lowest level in decades. Let me repeat that. Federal prosecutions for drug crimes have dropped to the lowest level in decades on your watch. The Department of Justice has also unilaterally terminated 373 grants that provide critical funding to state and local law enforcement to the tune of $500 million. The 2026 Trump budget would slash the high-intensity drug trafficking areas program known as HIDA by more than a third, from $300 million to $196 million. Instead of taking common sense steps that have proven to help reduce crime, Attorney General, you're focusing on helping President Trump play strongman on television. He has illegally deployed troops to Chicago and other American citizens and has threatened to send more. The Justice Department defends this dubious legal basis for these deployments and diverts DOJ personnel and their components to assist in these efforts. These deployments basically target Democratic-run cities and Democratic leaders ignoring many Republican-led areas of our country with even higher crime rates, and making clear that this is for political theater, not public safety. One particular chaotic raid in Chicago Tuesday last week, aided by the FBI and ATF, which you supervise. In the middle of the night, federal agents pulled women and children out of their beds, crashed down the doors to their homes, destroyed their apartments, zip-tied children and others, and detained immigrants and U.S. citizens alike for hours in vans. When one witness complained about the treatment of the small children, an agent laughed at her and said, "F them kids." On Friday, a federal judge appointed by President Trump held that deploying the National Guard in Portland is illegal. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller accused her of, quote, legal insurrection, close quote. At a time of rising threats to federal judges, this kind of language is inexcusable. Last week, the President and Secretary Hegseth summoned senior military officials to a political pep rally at Quantico, where the President said he wanted to use American cities as, quote, training grounds for our military. Training grounds for our military. To fight the, quote, enemy within. Chicago is not the enemy. Our fellow Americans are not the enemy. It is abhorrent for the President, who is supposed to represent all Americans regardless of political party, to describe anyone who disagrees with him in this manner. To my Republican colleagues who claim the previous administration weaponized
Everything he's saying is facts. I think he's doing a good job laying it all out and honestly presenting a case in great order. These are all the things that have happened. And he's not sugarcoating it, and he's also not over-exaggerating. He's stating it like it is.
the Department of Justice, President Biden retained President Trump's FBI Director Christopher Wray, who President Trump then fired. President Biden never directed the Attorney General to prosecute his political opponents. President Biden never fired his own political appointees for refusing to prosecute his targets. What has taken place since January 20th, 2025 would make even President Nixon recoil. This is your legacy, Attorney General Bondi.
Wow.
In 8 short months, you have fundamentally transformed the Justice Department and left an enormous stain in American history. It will take decades to recover. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Would you please rise so I can give you swear? Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please be seated and give us your opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Grassley and Ranking Member Durbin, and every member of this committee. I'm grateful for the opportunity to testify in front of you today. First, please join me in remembering, as you said, Chairman Grassley, all the Jewish people who lost their lives in the October 7th attacks 2 years ago today. Also, please let's pray for all the hostages and the families of all of those individuals.
Honestly, screw you, Pam Bondi. Do not make this about Jewish people. Seriously, all the Jewish people who lost their lives. We're talking about Israelis who lost their lives. And yes, I'm sure 95% of them were Jewish. It is the Jewish state. But come on, the Jewish people, really? We don't need that. Just get to talking about the Epstein Files because we know you're just going to tell a bunch of lies today.
They are a critical reminder of our central mission here at the Department of Justice, protecting the safety and security of the American people. That is why, even when the government is otherwise shut down because of the Democrats, the department's law enforcement officers and prosecutors are hard at work fighting crime, keeping our streets safe, and protecting you from the threats, foreign and domestic. When I was confirmed,
everybody in this administration, they're like the most annoying kids that you had in class, the kids that never did their homework, the kids that never paid attention but still wanted to have a say in the classroom, that still tried to act like they knew more than you. That's literally Pam Bondi. She's like so unprepared and she's so honestly just uneducated on what's going on in the country, yet has been willing to sell out completely for political power.
Served as the 87th Attorney General of the United States, I took office with two main goals: to end the weaponization of justice and return the department to its core mission of fighting violent crime. As to ending the weaponization of justice, we learned that former FBI secretly investigated you and your colleagues. Why? They wanted to take President Trump off the playing field. They were playing politics with law enforcement powers and will go down as a historic betrayal of public trust. This is the kind of conduct that shatters the American people's faith in our law enforcement system.
Look at her reading off her script, right? She's reading this pre-recorded message. She's sent here by her master, Donald Trump, to read this message. Again, remember, this was supposed to be Matt Gaetz. That should tell you everything you need to know. Matt Gaetz, former congressman, disgraced congressman who had to resign in shame after sleeping with a minor, paying her, in fact, paying a minor for sexual favors. And even with that as public knowledge, that was widely accepted by everybody, Democrats and Republicans, because in a bipartisan manner, they found the evidence, and Republicans and Democrats in Congress both agreed Matt Gaetz was a freak and didn't belong in Congress. Donald Trump still pushed for him to be this person. He wanted Matt Gaetz to do this job. Okay? So if he wasn't qualified and Trump pushed super hard for him, what makes you think she's qualified for this?
Will work to earn that back every single day. We are returning to our core mission of fighting real crime. While there is more work to do,
Somebody in my TikTok chat's like, "You're making up lies. That's all you've got. You're a joke." Yeah, I'm the one making up lies. Nice try, buddy. Yes, by the way, I am live on YouTube. That's where you should come watch. Link in my bio or search Josh the Progressive. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but you can actually watch this hearing of Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi. I have it pulled up on the YouTube feed. So again, just go to the link in my TikTok bio or search my name, Josh the Progressive, and you'll find the live broadcast. Here we go. Let's continue.
I believe in 8 short months, we have made tremendous progress towards those ends. Our federal surges in Washington, D.C. and Memphis are a perfect example of how the Department of Justice should operate. We created strong partnerships with local leadership, working hand in hand with both cities to send resources where they were needed most. The results speak for themselves. We have made more than 3,800 arrests here in Washington while seizing more than 365 illegal guns. In Memphis, we have already made more than 300 arrests and close to 80 illegal guns in just a week. We are replicating that tough on crime approach throughout this country. Under the leadership of Director Kash Patel, the FBI is doing outstanding investigative work to keep American people safe. The FBI just conducted a months-long operation called Summer Heat, which resulted in over 8,600 arrests from June to September. More than 6,500 arrests fell under the FBI's violent crime and gang program. Under the leadership of Administrator Terry Cole, the DEA has seized 47.9 million fentanyl pills and 4,500 kilos of fentanyl powder. That represents 370 million deadly doses. 370 million. The DEA is dismantling violent cartel drug trafficking networks across this country, including the seizure of nearly 470 million in criminal assets. Under the leadership of Gadi Serralta, our U.S. Marshals have been the tip of the spear on federal surges in protecting judges and elected officials. Our Marshals have arrested more than 51,000 fugitives nationwide since January 20th. Under the leadership of Acting Director Dan Driscoll, ATF has taken more than 23,000 illegal guns off our streets. 3,400 of those guns have been linked to trafficking between the U.S. and Mexico. My attorneys have done incredible work advancing President Trump's agenda and protecting the executive branch from judicial overreach. We've been sued more than 400 times since January 20th. Judges have issued more than 90 temporary restraining orders against us. more than the previous several administrations combined. Despite the unprecedented degree of activism we've seen from the lower courts, we have never ignored a court order. And why would we? We have secured a historic 22.
How is that true when they literally ignored the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that they had to facilitate the return of the man they wrongfully deported, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Mind you, this administration just deports people randomly. They don't really even know who they're deporting. They deport this guy. The Supreme Court says, hey, you have to bring that guy back. That guy was not meant to be deported. Your administration even admitted that. And they spent weeks just blatantly ignoring the Supreme Court and pretending like the Supreme Court didn't say what they said until they finally caved and ended up bringing him back because they say, oh, we'll bring him back just because we're going to deport him again. Well, he's still here. He's still here. And people are like, oh, you guys care so much about this one person. It's not about this one person, okay? It's about the fact that they can just deport anybody, and they prove that they won't even listen to the Supreme Court. That's what it's about. I don't care necessarily about that one person, right? I care about his well-being. I care about his due process. I want him to have his day in court. If he is a criminal, let's find out. But they didn't want to know if he was a criminal because they didn't want to have a trial for him, because if they had a trial and it showed that he wasn't a criminal, it would blow up in their faces.
Victories at the Supreme Court alone, with more to come. Our civil rights attorneys are fighting discrimination and anti-Semitism. Our criminal attorneys are prosecuting violent criminals and foreign terrorists every single day. I look forward to continuing this work at the Department of Justice, and I look forward to testifying before you today. Thank you, Chairman.
She has to be one of the most disgraceful characters in American history. Really, one of the most treasonous, traitorous, evil scumbags. Hate to be crass, but that's just how it is.
I forgot to turn on the microphone. Let me start over again. We have 10-minute rounds. I've asked Senator Blackburn to chair between 10:30 and 11. I hope that we can have good decorum during this hearing. Treat each other with respect. General Bondi, just in case you get cut off with something that you don't get to answer your question.
Hey, Mike.
When that senator's
thank you
done,
for the
if you
$2
ask
super
me
chat.
for
Really
a little
appreciate
bit
it.
of time, not a lot of time, but a little bit of time to give
Gen Z, baby.
finish your answer, I'd be glad to give that to you. So starting myself, you inherited a bloated bureaucracy.
We're not going to listen to this guy. I'm sorry. Let's just keep moving. Let's hear from Senator Durbin, because I heard this was explosive.
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility.
Hang on,
She refuses to answer.
Let's hear this. 1 second.
So we don't know if these records exist, or you just can't say that publicly at this point?
I don't want to discuss any of that publicly,
Okay.
Director.
The foreign intelligence
1 sec.
for Biden DOJ, FISA, President Trump and his allies, can you?
Thank you.
Okay, let's hear this.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, let me ask you this question. Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member.
I noticed that. What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And
Oh my God, she's throwing a temper tantrum here. What? He just asked you, can you explain why the National Guard troops are coming? What rationale? What conversations did you have about Texas National Guard troops going to Illinois? In my opinion, that's a pretty big deal. How often do we see National Guard troops from another state get sent to a separate state for the purpose of fighting Americans, really suppressing protests of American citizens, going after our First Amendment rights? Trump the other day talked about potentially invoking the Insurrection Act. He says he's floating the idea around. And this is the kind of response we get from this competent and highly qualified administration. Pam Bondi now throwing a major tantrum because Senator Durbin simply asked her a question. Now she's like, oh, you shut down the government while we're still paying our ICE agents. What are you talking about, woman? We're trying to figure out why you're turning Chicago into the Department of War. Explain it to us.
currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state.
It's absolutely a legitimate question. And by the way, Mr. Durbin's constituents in Illinois, they want answers to that question, right? So, what is his job here? His job is to provide answers for the people of Illinois. And she's claiming she wants to protect the people of Illinois. She won't even tell them the truth. How are you going to claim you're here to protect the people of Chicago when you're lying through your teeth? You're covering up the Epstein Files, so nothing you say can be trusted regardless. And you're talking about the Democrats shutting down the government, when in reality, that's the one good thing the Democrats are doing right now to actually protect Americans and help us not have to pay thousands of additional dollars for health insurance, because Pam Bondi, she doesn't care if you have to pay more for health insurance. She's just happy that ICE gets paid more than every branch of the military now, and ICE makes more money than most world militaries in general, so that they can fly Black Hawk helicopters into suburban Chicago neighborhoods and scare the American population. I'd like Mr. Durbin to continue pressing Pam Bondi here because this is obscene.
That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place. Let me ask you another question. I want to, if you will, hold on a second. Make sure I got the right page of facts here. You testified under oath when you last before this committee that before your appointment to Attorney General, you had served as a representative of some sort for the royal family of Qatar. There was an issue that came before you in May when President Trump accepted a $400 million luxury jet from the royal family of Qatar for temporary use as Air Force One before it's permanently gifted.
She's like so complicit in everything. It's so absurd. She's connected to every single piece of corruption, whether it's Qatar and the $400 billion jet, or whether it's the Epstein situation, how she's worked in Florida all her life, and she's connected to that corruption as well. Least qualified person. The only person less qualified is Matt Gaetz. We all know what happened to him, even though Trump still pushed for him.
Gifted to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. The Constitution unequivocally bestows on Congress the power to control whether any officer of the United States, including the President, may accept a gift, quote, from any king, prince, or foreign state, end of quote. And this gift clearly violates the statutory regime enacted by Congress. You've refused to answer a letter I sent to you 5 months ago, asking the legal rationale you relied on to advise President Trump to accept this unprecedented gift from your former legal client. Can you make a promise today that you will disclose that?
Disclose what, ranking member?
I assume there was a letter.
She's like, she acts like she's such an idiot. She's like, what? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. From now on, every time Pam Bondi speaks, we should just be like, cool story, bro. How about them Epstein Files? Hey, less yapping, more Epstein Files. Come on.
Letter or some sort of statement from your office to the White House to advise them that you felt it was permissible?
First, to address my role with Qatar, as I addressed with you during my confirmation hearing, I disclosed it in my SJQ. In private practice, I worked for Qatar for anti-human trafficking for the World Cup.
Wow, you care about human trafficking? Surely you would release those files, right? If you claim you care so much about human trafficking, how come you haven't done anything for the survivors of Epstein's crimes? And wouldn't you want to know who was responsible to the greatest, most elaborate human trafficking ring in possibly world history? I mean, we're talking about an entire network of people that were collaborating on this, including your boss potentially. But if wouldn't the files be clean? Wouldn't the files be easy to release? Why not just release them, Pam Bondi?
That was my only involvement, and I made that very clear, and I'm very proud of everything I've done with anti-human trafficking. Obviously, in preparing any advice for the president on a jet or anything else, we consult with the Office of Legal Counsel. The confidentiality applies to their input as well. And Chairman, if you would approve and vote to approve, as Chairman Grassley said, excuse me, Ranking Member, as Chairman Grassley said, my employees, we would answer your letters a lot faster, yet you're stalling them at every stop. And to go back to your previous question, your city has a murder rate 5 times higher than New York's.
We're not talking about that. Great. You can pull up some random data about Chicago's crimes, which, by the way, no matter what you say, no data from this administration should be trusted because they just throw out random numbers. Yes, everybody with common sense knows that there's gun violence in Chicago. There's gun violence in pretty much every American city because we have a massive gun problem. And instead of actually going after the firearms or providing mental health services or housing or healthcare or jobs or public transit, what are they going to do? They're going to blame it all on brown people, black people, use ICE, scare people, try to make Chicago safe for the next 3 years by turning it into a militarized zone. Then when they pack up and leave after wasting all of our taxpayer dollars, all they've done is demonize people, arrest innocent people, and leave us with even more problems than we had before. They ruin things.
571 homicides last year. If you were serious about protecting your people, you would be asking this administration for help. You're saying that we're coming in.
Nobody wants your help. Less yapping, more Epstein files. I thought that's what you came here for.
Into your state and your city. We're there to help make America safe and Illinois safe, whether or not you want to.
I believe cutting federal grant programs to law enforcement in my state and across the nation does not make us any safer, and you've done just that. You've supplanted that decision by sending in National Guard troops to California and other places.
It's so funny, too, how they are always like, the radical left wants to defund the police, when in reality, the Democratic Party is a pretty conservative party that still provides tons of money to the police, even though we need major justice reform in this country. And yet it's the Trump administration that has actually gutted police services across the country, gutted mental health services, gutted grants for law enforcement, for public safety departments. They're actively making people less safe, and yet they claim they're making America safe again. Nobody is safe with these absolute jackals running our country.
That is a situation where the governors have not asked for that help. If you truly wanted to do this on a bipartisan basis, you wouldn't defy a governor, you would work with them. I'm prepared to do that. I'm prepared to work with this administration. But cutting these grants to law enforcement does not make us any stronger as a nation or give us the tools we need to reduce crime in Chicago. Now, I'd just like to ask you, when it came to this Cutter situation, did you consult with the ethics office in the Department of Justice before making your decision on this gift of a jet?
Chairman, I didn't gift a jet to anyone. My Office of Legal Counsel provides confidential advice to the president to the White House.
Why is she speaking like this as if he's like slow or something? Like she's the one that probably needs to be talked to like this because she's clearly not understanding anything he's asking her or saying, or she's doing this intentionally to appear less intelligent than she already is, not very intelligent.
Period. And you're conflating two issues. Cutting grants, I was very clear about what grants we've cut and what grants we haven't, only 7%. And if you have a grant in Illinois that you think that I've cut that is protecting law enforcement officers or your people, you personally call me and I will work with you to turn that grant back on. I think many of the Democrats here can tell you, I have worked with them to turn grants back on.
I don't think that's true.
There's an appeal process. Tell me a specific grant that I have turned off in Illinois that would help law enforcement, and I will work with you. But you have not done that.
Did you
And
take
again,
a look?
the National Guard is on the way right now as we speak. Oh, by the way, so is Director Patel and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. You're sitting here grilling me, and they're on their way to Chicago to keep your state safe.
They shouldn't be on their way to Chicago. They should also be in this hearing getting grilled for their absolute ineptitude and failure to serve the American people. It's that simple. Nice story, though, Pam Bondi. Keep yapping, but more Epstein Files. Let's go. Bring them.
Madam Attorney General, it's my job to grill you. Investigation of your agency is part of my responsibility and this committee. You may not like the experience, but others have weathered the storm and answered questions in a respectful manner.
Can you tell me the grants,
Yes.
Ranking Member, please?
Take a look at the president's budget on HIDA grants. What happens to it in his proposed budget?
I'd be glad to meet with you on the
It's-
grant.
That's amazing. She's like trying to catch him in a gotcha moment. She's like, can you tell me a grant? Because I guarantee you can't. And he's immediately like, yeah, take a look at all these. These are the grants. It's all there. And she's like, okay, yeah, I'll meet with you. Sure. That's a successful job right there from Durbin.
Cut by 1/3 from $300 million to 196.
True.
That's one example of a grant that works, and your administration has suggested cutting it, and the budget lies ahead.
I like how she's looking back to her staffers now like, uh-oh, I did not prepare for him to actually have receipts.
I want to ask you about items in a letter I sent you in July that you have not answered. In February, you made a public claim that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review, end of quote. You then produced already public information and no client list at a major media event hosted at the White House.
Oh, this is good.
Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Damn. Did you hear that? He basically says, why did you say you have the client list and then say you have no client list? Why did you lie to everybody? And mind you, she's under oath here, but this administration, they don't even care about perjury. They say whatever they want because they know that there's nobody to hold them accountable for lying under oath because she's the one in charge. And the Supreme Court is owned by Trump. But let's listen here.
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it.
That's exactly what he just said. You're just quoting him back to himself. He said, you had the files on your desk to review. The only difference you're adding is you hadn't reviewed them yet. Is that the new spin? Is that the excuse you're going to use to say, oh, you hadn't reviewed them yet, and then once you reviewed them, you realized there was no client list? No, you said the list was on your desk. What? Did you misspeak then? How could you possibly misspeak when you say everything you're doing is perfect?
And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, excuse me, our memo on Epstein
You're not
clearly
excused.
points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo. You also didn't let me respond to the HIDA question. The budget transfer
Keep deflecting from the Epstein files. We're done talking about Chicago. Stop.
$196 million for high-intensity drug trafficking areas to the Office of Justice Programs, OJP.
This is some stuff she was just handed by her staff in the back, by the way. She has no idea what she's talking about.
The Justice Department will continue to administer those grants under OJP in 2026.
Going back to the Epstein Files.
Thank you.
According to
He's like, cool story, bro. Back to the Epstein Files.
another whistleblower who made a protected disclosure to my office, you pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July, when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memo stating, quote, "there's no incriminating client list." Why was the July 7th memo unsigned?
The July 7th memo came from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Director Patel answered those questions very clear. And, you know, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting.
What is the answer? I don't think Patel ever answered that. Why did you have somebody look through the files for Donald Trump's name, finding any instance where Trump's name appears in the files, and then nothing came of that? And why are you once again deflecting? Are you nervous, Attorney General Bondi? Are you nervous right now? Are you scared? Because what's going to happen when these files do get released and your boss is found all over them? Your boss is fucked, and so are you.
Interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs in 2023 and 2024. You fought that. Did you take money from Reid Hoffman, campaign donations, who was a huge Epstein friend? Why did you fight for years? Why did you fight to not disclose the...
He's literally flabbergasted. He's like, what is this absolute nonsense? She's just spewing just garbage. He's like, you could hear her too. He's like, never heard of her. Who is that? What is this? This administration knows they can just start yapping and just start making up stories, and their base is going to eat it up. He's like besides himself right now.
The flight logs, Senator Durbin.
I can tell you I did not refuse. One of the senators here wished to produce those logs, and I asked her to put it in writing, and she never did.
Yeah, I think Senator Blackburn would quarrel with you on that. But
I
that's
will
up to the
quarrel
two
with
of
you as to...
By the way, this is not your interrogation, Pam Bondi. Your job here is to answer questions, not ask questions.
Read somebody that you mentioned I never heard of.
Reid Hoffman.
So who gave the order to flag records related to...
No matter how loud you yell someone's name into a microphone, if somebody doesn't know them, it's not relevant.
President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your...
Why is she acting like she has no idea what he's asking her? This is common knowledge. Am I wrong? Doesn't everybody know by now that there was a whistleblower from her office, and people in her office said that they were instructed to look through all the files, to comb the files for Trump? This is not a conspiracy. Like, even MAGA knows that this happened. Some MAGA, their spin will be, oh, well, we didn't find his name. Or, oh, they maybe just did that for precautionary reasons. Like, even Charlie Kirk would have said, yeah, Trump was in the Epstein files. Of course he was, but it's because they were friends in Palm Beach. Duh, everyone was friends with Epstein back then. And the fact that she's pretending like she doesn't know what he's talking about is so incriminating. And it's proof that she's not even prepared for this meeting. If she was actually prepared for this, if she was good at her fascism, if she was good at lying, she would have something prepared, but she's just clearly dropping the ball. I'm sure her handlers are not happy with this. By handlers, I'm saying, you know, the people who are telling her what to do, Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and Russ Vought and everybody involved in the extremist agenda administration.
Conducting this, you won't do it today, but eventually you will. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
I gotta
Mr.
interject
Chairman?
something here
Mr.
before I
Chairman.
get to Pam.
Mr. Chairman, since Senator Durbin referred to me, I would really appreciate the opportunity to correct the record.
Proceed.
Because Senator Durbin knows I repeatedly asked for those flight logs. I brought up the subpoena. You even shut down the committee because you didn't want that, and you know I submitted that in writing, and you continue to misrepresent that, and I am not going to let that record stand.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Senator Durbin.
I just want to make it clear that the reason the committee business ended was that your side invoked the 2-hour rule. Point number 2 is I asked you if you wanted any documents like flight logs to put it in writing. You never did.
Yes, sir, I did, and your staff knows that I did.
No,
We'll submit, once again,
Send me a copy of
the
that, please.
information to you. We've done that several times, but we'll be happy to, once again, send it to you. I think your staff doesn't show that to you.
I think they all want it to be released, and it's this administration that's preventing that from being released. Hey, do me a favor, to the 200 people watching on TikTok, I'm only going to be live on TikTok for just a brief section longer, so come watch on YouTube. Just go on YouTube, search Josh the Progressive, or go to the link in my bio on TikTok. It's a much better viewing experience. You'll actually be able to watch this hearing on the screen. You can watch on your phone just like you're doing on TikTok or computer or TV. And let me know in the YouTube chat that you came from TikTok so we can welcome you, and that way I know that you made it successfully. So yeah, like I said, come watch on YouTube. 200 people there, tons of people watching on YouTube too. Come join me. The link is just, if you just go to the, my bio on TikTok, you'll see my YouTube button. You can click YouTube and you click that, it'll take you straight to my YouTube channel. Or you just go on YouTube and just search Josh the Progressive, and it'll be one of the first things that comes up.
Well, as I started to say about the emolument clause, and Democrats bringing that up in regard to Qatar, back in March of 2016, they didn't
Okay,
care
I don't want to hear
anything
from
about
Lindsey
my
Graham, who's coming up
bringing
next,
up
but I
the
do want to hear from Senator Whitehouse.
The investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI.
What became,
Let's hear this.
An active investigation going on through my staff. I want to make that very clear. Mr. Whitehouse, or Senator Whitehouse.
thank you, Chairman.
By the way, can we just acknowledge Senator Whitehouse is such an awesome name for a senator?
Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
The fact that she has to check her notes here shows that she has no idea what to say. She's clearly concerned about this question. If you don't know what he's asking about, Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, is evidently caught red-handed for having accepted a $50,000 bribe before this administration took office, a bribe that he took to increase anti-immigration policies while in the administration. $50,000 in cash. This has been proven now, right? It's on tape. And it was in a paper bag. And Pam Bondi's going to pretend like this never happened. Watch.
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
That's the question. The question is, what's with the cash? Because if he took the cash, then aren't we going to see that on his taxes? Let's find out what she has to say.
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Senator, I'd look at your facts. What is she saying? Please ask her again. Please, I'm begging you.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full
A different
review
question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, excuse me, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the
Okay,
investigation
never
of
mind,
Mr.
never mind.
Holman.
Never mind. Oh my gosh, she is insufferable. Are you kidding me? Can you spell guilty? Can you look up guilty in the dictionary and you'll find a picture of her? Oh my goodness. What a loser.
You can see I'm not going to get a straight
full
answer from you to
review
a very simple
by the
question.
FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you
found
know-
no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and
Do
you
you
rail
know,
against
wait a
dark
second,
money.
wait a second.
Yeah, wait a second. We don't want to hear another deflection out of your mouth, Bondi. Okay? Less yapping, more Epstein Files, and more explaining why the border czar took bribes, which he is not allowed to do, and now you're lying about it under oath.
Wait a
Yeah,
second.
you work with dark
Wait a
money
second.
groups all the time, Senator
Wait a
Whitehouse.
second. Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the $50,000 payment to Mr. Holman was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
Ooh, she thought she got him there. Yeah, you should be worried about your wife's company. Pam Bondi. Cool story, more Epstein Files, and more telling us why you can't answer about the $50,000 in cash that Tom Homan accepted that you're saying now doesn't exist, even though it does.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR. And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions.
It is really simple, and that's why she can't answer it. They're not good with simple.
Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office up his butt saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction. Yeah. What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's all pending litigation,
misconduct?
Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
That's what her team told her to say. They're like, just say that over and over again, and you're not going to be caught lying.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the Fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Somebody in her team told her just now, they're like, every question he asks, just say, Senator, I'm not going to discuss with you. And thanks for just wasting all of our time, Pam Bondi. My cat is making noise. Stop it, cat. Again, almost 300 people watching on TikTok. Come watch on YouTube right now. Right now. Just go to the link in my bio or search Josh the Progressive on YouTube, because on TikTok you can't see what we're looking at. I want you to be able to see the screen. Here we go.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact.
Oh my goodness, she is a mess.
Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARS, that DOJ receives automatically.
Shell says on YouTube, why do they have her here to answer questions? She doesn't answer anything, waste of everyone's time. I understand that. I agree with your sentiment. However, I think it's important because this is all being taped. This is all for the history books. This is going to reflect what this administration did. And justice sometimes takes time, but when all is said and done, these people will face justice.
Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARS did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if
My cat was just full on inside
you took
my
money, I
pillowcase.
believe, did you,
That's
from Reid
hilarious.
Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex
When
Acosta
you
that?
and Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity
One sec, hang on.
reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they're called suspicious activity reports that there might be
Yes, they're shorts.
suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at zero of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one
Oh my
who
God.
was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe.
I believe you were trying to slander President Trump. We love President Trump. He could never be with Epstein, even though it is common knowledge by now that President Trump and Epstein were best friends for decades. And by the way, Pam Bondi, he just asked a simple question. If the answer is no, then why can't you just say no? Do you have a problem lying under oath? Is that what it is? Because if you felt so confident that you had the answer to his question, you would just tell him, right? You would tell him. Here's the reality. They know Trump is in the files. And Pam Bondi knows that if they find out her boss is in the files, her boss is fired, she's fired, they're both going to jail. Trump is going to jail for participating in this sex trafficking ring. She's going to jail for lying under oath and also being complicit. At this point, she's an accessory in this case.
Be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein?
Oh my goodness. Every time there's like evidence, she's like, photographs? Like, what do those even matter? They're just photographs. Oh my God. It's just like photo evidence of them together. It's just photo evidence of them mistreating naked women. But oh my God, what does that even matter? And then it's like just some letter, like a letter Trump wrote. Oh my God. Or like, whoa, like they're in documents together? No way. They visited the island together? That doesn't matter. You're just trying to slander my master, President Trump.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay?
Oh my God, dude, she just went full nonverbal. Like, what? She has to say something, right? She has to respond. What? That's the strategy now? It's just go nonverbal, just stop talking? Whoa. Did everybody see that? She literally just ceased to exist. He said, can you speak on the fact that there were photos found in the safe with Trump and Epstein and photos that they were collecting together, photos of them together? And she's just like a deer in the headlights, like, huh? What? Huh? Next question? Oh my goodness. And that's on video now for everybody to see. That's great. I hope someone makes a meme out of that, by the way. Next time somebody asks her about the Epstein files, just play that.
Here's what some, well, no, we cut to something else.
Let's cut to something else.
The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are
Yeah, someone on YouTube, Maria, says brain fart. She couldn't come up with a lie quick enough. Yeah, clearly she glitched out, Shell. She absolutely glitched out. Like her staff couldn't help her with that one in time, and clearly she malfunctioned.
investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats? And do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it. I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry.
Thank you.
What a joke.
Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country.
Why is she getting so aggressive? Like, what? Why are you getting so agitated? That's how you know somebody is really facing the heat and they're really not great under pressure, especially when trying to lie.
We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Seralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges,
Including
who
orchestration.
threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo, thank you.
Okay, before Cornyn speaks, I
What
get
a
kind of
joke.
amused about my Democratic colleagues bringing up Treasury
What an absolute joke. What is this guy about to say?
suspicious activity reports regarding Epstein. When Senator Johnson and I issued our Biden family reports in 2020, we used information from these very same type of documents. And you know what? We were criticized by our Democratic colleagues for doing so, and for years they ignored the evidence.
Okay,
I'm sure I was.
So
here's a good
it's
one.
very clear to me that when
Did fully investigate. The second and third
Okay, real quick, I'm just gonna let everyone know on TikTok. Again, come watch on YouTube. We're about to show another instance of Pam Bondi getting absolutely grilled just a short while ago. I know this one's about to be good. Make sure you come watch on YouTube. I don't want you to miss this. Link in my bio, or just search Josh the Progressive. There's almost 100 people watching on YouTube. So when you come to the YouTube chat, just type in the chat that you came from TikTok, and I guarantee you everyone's going to be very kind and welcoming. Here we go.
1023 forms relate to the first in that they reference potential Biden family criminal conduct. Senator Johnson and I made these two public, and we simply want to know whether the government has investigated what it found, and if not, why not? Senator Ronald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, FISA Section 702 will expire in 6 months. In response to my questions for the record, at your confirmation hearing, you said you did not have experience with FISA, but if confirmed, you would consult with experts at DOJ. Now, you've had that opportunity. Do you support adding additional safeguards for searching Americans' communications in the 702 database?
Senators, Section 702 is a vital source of foreign intelligence and instrumental in keeping Americans safe. We also take individuals' rights of their individual rights of all Americans very seriously. And many statutory reforms to FISA have incorporate safeguards. They have to incorporate safeguards to protect our civil liberties. The Department of Justice looks forward to working with you to discuss anything regarding 702.
Someone in my TikTok chat, again, come on YouTube. It's way easier for me to see the YouTube chats. But somebody says, we're sitting here watching this instead of going out and protesting while letting war crimes happen. Listen, I understand that frustration, but we're doing everything, right? We've got people who are coming back from Israel right now, American citizens who were just released after being held hostage. They were trying to deliver aid to Gaza. People are protesting there. We've got protests in the streets. Right now, what we're doing is we're just exposing their corruption. We're spreading the truth. We're talking about what is taking place in the administration, helping people become aware, helping provide talking points to people who are on the right side of history so that we can go out and spread the truth, like I said. And we've got No King's Day 2.0 coming up. Remember, No King's Day that happened this summer? There's already an even bigger one planned on October 18th. They have more cities and more people signed up for this one than they did for the first one, and we're still 10 days out. So a lot is happening simultaneously. Right now, I'm just live on YouTube covering the news of the day, helping spread the truth so that we can all go out with our marching orders. We can go out informed, educated, and motivated to fight back against this authoritarian regime. Here we go. Let's continue listening to this traitor Nazi Pam Bondi.
Appreciate
I believe
that.
my staff, and Senator, I also want to thank you for this hearing. Your staff met with my staff, and I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. We're going to be working on 702, so I appreciate the openness to further amending 702. At your confirmation hearing, you assured me that it is the Department of Justice's decision to determine what cases will be prosecuted. Last month, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia was forced out. President Trump then posted the message behind me asking about prosecuting James Comey. You then appointed a new U.S. attorney who within days secured an indictment against James Comey.
This is good.
That social media post behind me saying, "What about Comey?" was directed to Pam. Are you the Pam that the president was referring to?
I'm sure I was.
So,
Why do you gotta be so snippy about it? Like, just say yes. Is this the first time all day you've answered a yes or no question accurately, so it's so hard for you?
very clear to me that when the president posts something like that, that he considers the DOJ to be his law firm and you his lawyer. And in fact, very shortly after the post to you, Comey gets indicted. Last year, President Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, was videotaped taking a bag with $50,000 in cash.
By the way, that's what people don't understand. He's on video. By the way, a few people on my YouTube chat have asked, Will I be covering the No Kings Day protest? Absolutely, I will. I'll be live during that and making videos of the whole thing. So you can count on that. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube so you can get the full coverage of the No Kings Day 2.0 protest. You can subscribe on YouTube. It's free. If you want to support my channel, you can become a member. I'm an independent content creator, so becoming a member helps grow the channel, and it helps you gain access to more exclusive content and access to me. We can have more conversations. Thanks for coming from TikTok, by the way. Somebody says on YouTube, I'm in New Zealand. Is there anything the rest of the world can do to support you guys in the USA? Listen, Maria, you can support us just by spreading the word, but also there's going to be no King's Day protests in New Zealand, I'm sure. I don't know factually where they're taking place, but I bet there's going to be some in Auckland and Wellington. I should look that up. Maria, if you can look that up, let me know if you find anything on that, because I am curious what protests are happening in New Zealand. Because last time there were protests in France, Australia, Canada, so I'm sure there will be some in New Zealand. By the way, would love to visit New Zealand. I've been to Australia, but did not get to New Zealand just yet. I will plan on it this decade. All right, let's continue watching this senator, who is one of my favorite, by the way. She's very good at grilling Pam Bondi. Here we go.
From undercover FBI agents after suggesting he could help with government contracts. Sounds like a bribe. 2 weeks ago, DOJ officials reportedly shut down the bribery investigation into Mr. Holman. Ms. Bondi, did you approve closing the Holman investigation, bribery investigation?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier,
Senator Hirono, as I check my notes because I've got some new lies to cook up for you. Here we go.
Department of Justice and the FBI conducted a thorough review, and they found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing. You were also on video outside the White House protesting with a group called CASA, where Antifa members were. Does that mean you're a member of Antifa?
You know, I simply asked a question as to whether or not you approve the shutting down of the investigation, Mr. Holman. I have to assume that you did because the FBI it reports to you. But the American people would look at the situation where this person is taking a $50,000 in cash, no less, and you testified today that a thorough investigation was done. Now, I have to assume, I conclude, that since no wrongdoing was determined, that in answer to Senator Whitehouse's question, he kept the money. He kept the money, and I hope that he put that on his tax returns as income.
As income, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Does everybody gather what just happened? Pam Bondi earlier said, oh, don't worry about Tom Homan accepting $50,000 in cash, no less, because our FBI, we did a proper, full investigation, and there's nothing to be worried about. And this senator just asked, well, if you did the investigation, I'm assuming you closed the investigation, right? It must be closed. And she's like, I already answered that. I'm not answering that question. And you're Antifa, by the way. You're Antifa because you protested once. That means you are anti-fascist. And the senator says, well, then so be it. The $50,000 he must have kept, and we'll see that on his taxes. We'll see if he actually reports that on his taxes, and if he doesn't, that's going to be tax fraud. And the IRS should handle him for that.
Next question. Over 1,200 rioters were convicted of charges related to January 6th. President Trump has since pardoned nearly all of them. As if that weren't enough, last month there were reports that a lawyer for the January 6th rioters met with senior DOJ officials about setting up a compensation fund like the one that Congress set up after 9/11 to compensate these rioters.
Understand that, folks. Our taxpayer dollars are going to be used to give money to the nearly 1,200 traitors, Nazis, treasonous, un-American scumbags who tried to kill members of Congress, who tried to overthrow the government and delay the election because they were tricked by Donald Trump into going to the Capitol with weapons. And all of them should be locked up because They attacked police officers. They destroyed the Capitol. They all wanted to inflict harm on members of Congress. And yet they're all now free. They're all walking free in the streets among us. The Trump administration is going after so-called criminal illegal aliens, even though the real criminals are the mostly white people that attacked the Capitol. And apparently, because they were so screwed over by the justice system and they lost money because they spent time in jail, now they're trying to set up a payment system through Congress where they're going to get paid. They're going to get rewarded for what they've done.
Ms. Bondi, is anyone at DOJ considering setting up a compensation fund for January 6 rioters? Yes or no?
Senator, I have had no meetings or discussions about a fund.
So would you support such a fund? Would you okay such a fund?
Senator, you can send me the information on the fund, and I'd be happy to look at it.
No, but do you think that's a good idea to, this is what I'm getting at. Because to actually set up a fund and to have people talking with your senior people at DOJ, political people, about creating a fund, and you won't let us know what you think about that, that's pretty unbelievable. On January 30th of this year, the Trump DOJ's Antitrust Division sued to block the merger of two tech companies. Then, well-connected lobbyists met with your political deputies who overruled the career staff and approved the merger. So there's a settlement on that. And separately, DOJ sued Ticketmaster last year for monopolizing concert tickets and forcing consumers to pay outrageous fees. Ticketmaster has hired the exact same lobbyists who met with senior DOJ political people regarding the merger of the two tech companies. So my question is, Ms. Bondi, have lobbyists met with your political deputies about the Ticketmaster case?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, I am not going to discuss anything that is ongoing. Gail Slater runs the antitrust
I would
office,
say
and
that-
Gail
that-
Slater, if I can finish, Gail Slater is doing an incredible job running my
Pam Bondi's the
antitrust
worst,
unit.
guys.
It's
She's
highly
awful.
likely, Ms. Bondi, that the same lobbyists who met with your people basically got rid of the antitrust case.
Senator, I don't think a lot of people
I
like
would
that
say
you were out
they're probably
protesting with
meeting you
Antifa.
right now. Next.
Are you seriously going to sit here and tell a senator she's out protesting with Antifa, which I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but let's just set the record straight, is just anti-fascist. It's literally just, are you opposed to fascism? Do you not want fascism in your country? Then you're Antifa. We should all be Antifa. I'm Antifa. My parents are Antifa. My sister's Antifa. My dog's Antifa. My cat's Antifa. My future kids, they'll be Antifa. My grandkids are Antifa, right? And she's like, I don't think the American people like the fact that you're out there protesting with Antifa. Like she was even protesting with Antifa. She was probably just at some protest. And so what? We're talking about people in your fan base, in your cult, that were protesting on January 6th to the extent where they were trying to kill Congress and they were actually trying to destroy the government.
Question. You have fired dozens of career prosecutors because they worked on cases involving President Trump or January 6 rioters. For example, one career federal prosecutor who secured over 100 convictions in Florida. He also spent time in D.C. prosecuting January 6 cases. He received an outstanding review only 2 days before you signed a memo firing him. The memo cited no reason for his firing. Are you firing career prosecutors solely because they worked on cases like January 6th that the president doesn't like?
Senator Hirono, I am not going
Yes
to
or
talk
no?
about personnel matters with you.
Well, we all know that hundreds of career prosecutors have left the DOJ, and literally hundreds we're told. And
Yeah,
you know,
Senator,
you've
are you
lost. The
familiar with the one
DOJ
that threw a
has
sandwich
lost.
at an ICE officer? Are you a Homeland Security
Here
officer?
is the
Are you familiar
reason.
with the one who went out on her lunch break and
Oh my God, somebody threw a sandwich at an ICE officer. Ooh, so scary. Oh my gosh, a sandwich. But those people that beat the shit out of police officers with baseball bats, they deserve to be paid with your taxpayer dollars.
was
Ms. Bondi,
making obscene
would you
gestures?
say that DOJ loses
Obscene gestures? Oh my God. We hate obscene gestures, but those pedophiles on Epstein's Island, yeah, we don't care about them.
these career prosecutors and the thousands of hours of experience they have prosecuting criminals? That is not a reassuring situation.
Senator, many employees took the fork in the road and resigned. DOJ is hiring committed prosecutors who will actually come into the office and work and not work remotely
I
and
think we all
prosecute
know
violent
that-
criminals around the country and terrorists. And
When
I
you-
am very proud
when you
of the
fire
work all of our prosecutors
I'm running out
are
of
doing.
time, so I think you should stop with your continuous interruptions, in my opinion. Mr. Chairman, I just want to close by saying that what was once the Department of Justice has become the Department of Revenge and Corruption. Rather than pursuing cases without fear of
It's true, it is the Department of Corruption, let's be real.
favor, this DOJ seeks to favor the president's friends and instill fear in his alleged enemies. If you're a friend of the president, this corrupt DOJ will bend over backwards to help you. Just like it dropped the bribery investigation of Tom Homan, like it's considering paying money to January 6 rioters, and like it has put antitrust enforcement decisions in the hands of well-connected lobbyists. But if you're on the wrong side of this president, you will face the wrath of DOJ, no matter what the facts, law, or justice support. James Comey is indicted days after the president's social media directive. Experienced career prosecutors are fired just because they were assigned to work on January 6 cases. Blue states are sued to get highly sensitive private voter data, whereas red states are left alone. The double standard is clear, and the American people are waking up to the corruption and favoritism and the lawlessness at the DOJ. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
May I respond, Chairman?
Yes,
There was no
May I
question.
respond?
yes, you may respond.
No
Then
question,
Senator
but
Kennedy.
sure, keep
Thank you.
yapping.
The double standard is crystal clear, Senator Hirono, crystal clear, because you didn't complain for 4 years when President Trump was being targeted by Jack Smith.
She's like a toddler. Hey, why was Jack Smith investigating Trump? Was it because of the fact that he tried to overthrow the government? Was it because he tried to use dirt on Joe Biden and get the Ukrainians to find dirt on Joe Biden in a way bigger scandal than Watergate by withholding military aid from Ukraine? Was it because Donald Trump hid classified records in his residence for people to have to find later on? Was it because Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani and others spread the big lie and tried to act like the election was stolen?
By the last Justice Department. But the American people spoke loud and clear when they overwhelmingly elected him. The two-tier system of justice is over.
Senator Kennedy.
It's over. It's over. Two-tier system of justice is over. I think that's all that was notable from this exchange this morning. Just absolutely embarrassing stuff there from Pam Bondi. Wow. That was a lot. Wowza. Okay, give me 1 second, everybody. Hang tight. Close this door. Hey, I want to take a moment, let you know I'm Josh Greene. You're watching The Progressive Pulse. I'm an independent content creator, no corporate sponsorships, no big donors, nothing. So if you want to support my work directly, you can do so by becoming a member on Patreon or YouTube. You can also visit Buy Me a Coffee, linked in the description of this video, or on TikTok, and you can do exactly that. You buy me a coffee. $1, $3, $5. It goes towards growing the show. It goes towards, paying for the equipment and making sure that I can be live for you almost every single weekday, 24/7, 365. And beyond that, really just make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're liking the videos, sharing the videos, because the algorithms out there, they are trying to suppress the truth. And they are trying to amplify right-wing conservative talking points and silence dissent. They want to silence the truth from leftist progressive leaders like myself. So liking the videos, sharing the videos, following on every social channel that I post on helps break through the noise, helps get the word out there so that we will not be suppressed and we will help restore justice to our country. All right, let's take a look now at a little bit of Trump's meeting with Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney. If you're on YouTube, thank you for being here. If you're on TikTok, come watch on YouTube. Let's take a look at Trump meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. This was a meeting that happened just a short while ago.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who I have made very popular. He's an extremely popular Prime Minister, and I'm very honored to do it because I liked him. Right from the beginning, I've liked him, and we've had a good relationship. We have some natural
Trump just said he made Mark Carney popular. What a joke.
conflicts, but we will probably work that out. But we've had a very strong relationship, and you're hosting.
If you can't hear it well on TikTok, you definitely need to watch on YouTube because it's a little quiet on TikTok, but YouTube you'll be able to hear.
We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We'll certainly be talking about Gaza. We're in very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years. You could say 500 years. You could say, but that it's.
You can't hear it, Mike? Interesting. You should be able to hear it. I turned it up too. Let me know if you have trouble hearing it.
For a long time, and I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen. But there's a real chance that we could do something, so you may have some questions on that later. But in the meantime, we'll spend some time and we'll make some deals and we'll do some things that are good for both of our countries. And Mark, it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then,
He's definitely transformative, not for good reasons. And by the way, this is just Mark Carney kissing Trump's ass because he knows the only way that he's going to help Canada is to kiss Trump's ass. Mark Carney's smarter than this. But also, it's not like Mark Carney is, I said this earlier, like it's not like he's a revolutionary progressive in his own right. But he's a better leader than Trump. He just has to come to America, kiss Trump's ass, because obviously America has a lot more power in the globe than Canada.
Transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
That wasn't where I was going.
On
this solemn day of commemoration of the horrific attacks of October 7, for the first time in decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years, this prospect of peace that you've made possible. Canada stands foursquare behind those efforts, and we'll do whatever we can to support them.
Very nice. Yeah. Thank you, Mark, very much. Any questions?
Is there any, what would it take for you to drop or lower your tariffs on Canadian sectors, including aluminum and steel?
Well, we're going to be talking about that with the Prime Minister. We'll be talking about tariffs. We'll be talking about a lot of that, but that's for a little bit later on. I want to just acknowledge our great ambassador. Is he doing a good job?
He's doing a good job.
Otherwise, I'll get him out of there so fast. No, you have a good one.
Is it the White House's position that furloughed workers should be paid for their back pay?
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people.
Trump is now hinting at possibly not paying people who have been fucked over because of the shutdown. This president doesn't care if you are going to lose everything.
There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Okay? Thank you.
Mark Carney's like, what? What are you talking about, man? You're going to just like let people just lose their jobs and not take care of them? He's like, whoa, that's how they do it in this administration? Oh my goodness.
Mr. President, in your
He's
opinion,
stunned.
Why has Canada and the United States failed to reach an agreement up until now?
Well, it's a complicated agreement, more complicated maybe than any other agreement we have on trade, because, you know, we have natural conflict. We also have mutual love. You know, we have great love for each other. I love this. I love Canada and the people of Canada. And Mark feels the same way about here. The problem we have is that they want a car company and I want a car company, meaning the U.S. wants a car company. And they want steel and we want steel. And, you know, so in other countries, they're very far away. And there's no problem. You can compete and you can do. We don't like to compete because we sort of hurt each other when we compete. And so we have a natural conflict. It's a natural business conflict. Nothing wrong with it. And I think we've come a long way over the last few months, actually, in terms of that relationship. So when it comes to trade, the United States was always giving everything. They gave everything to Canada. They would, you know, let car companies leave here and go to Canada. But that hurts the United States. And, you know, other presidents didn't see that. They weren't business-oriented. They might have been good politicians in some cases, not in all cases. They were bad at both. But it's a very natural conflict, and it's something that we're working out.
It's absurd.
You offered a lot of compromise this summer. Are you willing today to offer some compromise to Canada, maybe on steel and aluminum?
Well, we've made compromise, and we've made some compromise even on steel. But, you know, we have the same basic authority and the same basic, this could be also a little bit of a conflict with other countries all over the world on steel, because we want to make our own steel. We don't want to bring steel in for the most part, but we will bring it in, and we do bring it in. We continue to bring it in from Canada, but there is a tariff to pay. And I think that would be a normal thing to say, but we've come a long way. I think, Howard, we can truly say, do you want to make a comment on that?
Well, I think the opportunity to work together, and as you said, there's conflict. You know,
J.D. Vance, he's there. Scary.
why do we make cars in Canada? You've called that out, and you've addressed that. So there are places we should work together, and there are places that we have natural conflict.
It's a tough situation because we want to make our cars here. At the same time, we want Canada to do well making cars. So we're working on formulas, and I think we'll get there.
Canadians are refusing to go to the U.S. The numbers are down like 23% in the first 7 months of the year. What do you say to Canadians that don't want to go to the U.S. now because of your 51st state talk, because of the trade war, the tariffs?
Yeah.
And
Well,
the fear
I
of
understand
also
it. Look, I
being
understand
exported?
that, and Americans don't want to buy cars that are made in Canada, you know? I mean, we have the same conflict. So there isn't, it's something that will...
Yeah, Ryan on YouTube says, Trump keeps saying, take care of them like a mafia boss. He said the same thing about Bin Laden. Yeah, he's trying to be like a tough guy, and he's like, oh, if some people will take care of them and give them their pay, and some people will take care of them. Like, he's saying they're going to fire them, arrest them. What are you even talking about, man? You're just like terrorizing your own country.
Get worked out. There's still great love between the two countries, but, you know, American people want product here. They want to make it here. Detroit was emptied out and moved to Canada, moved to Mexico, moved to other places, not just Canada. And now they're all moving back, you know, they're moving back. We have, right now, I was just telling Mark, we have 17 trillion, but it's really much higher. That was as of a couple of months ago. We have over $17 trillion being invested now in the United States. As an example, Biden, he was the worst president we've ever had, but they had.
Mark Carney's like trying to be so patient with this nonsense.
At less than 1 trillion in 4 years. We have more than 17 trillion in 8 months. 8 months. And I think that number is going to be $22 trillion. There's never been anything like that in the history of the world for any country, not even close. You know, if you did 1 trillion in a year, that's pretty good. We're going to do over 20. And it's coming in with AI, it's coming in with auto plants. You know, we're building auto plants, a lot of auto plants in the U.S. It's coming in for a lot of reasons. It's coming in because of the fact, I think the November 5th election was a big factor, and I think the tariffs are a big factor. And again, we want Canada to do great, but you know, there's a point at which we also want the same business. We're competing for the same business. That's the problem. That's why I keep mentioning one way to solve that problem is a very easy way. But we're competing for the same business. He wants to make cars, we want to make cars, and we're in competition. And the advantage we have is we have this massive market. So it's a, you know, it's quite an advantage.
Oh my goodness.
Mr. President, can we talk about Portland for a second? Are you planning to invoke the Insurrection Act? And that would be, you know, a very...
Mark Carney's like laughing at us. He's like, your guys' country's falling apart, and we're just up here laughing.
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know. If you look at Chicago, Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime. And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job. It's all very simple. They probably had 50 murders in Chicago over the last 5, 6, 7 months. Many people were shot. And then the governor gets up and he says, well, we can handle it. They can't handle it. They don't know what they're doing. The mayor is grossly incompetent. He's at a 4% approval rating in Chicago. He's at a 4%, lowest approval rating, lower than even de Blasio had, which is hard to believe in New York. I thought de Blasio would always maintain that record, but the Chicago guy is even lower. So I think that we want safe cities. If you look at D.C., you would right now, Mark, you could go out, take your family out to dinner, you could walk right down the middle of the street. There is no crime in D.C. When I got here, this place was a raging hellhole where people would come from Canada, people would come from other places and end up getting shot. Nobody's being shot. The National Guard's been unbelievable. I mean, they are strong, tough guys. You know, we won something at the Supreme Court, which is a big deal, merit. Everything now in this country is merit-based. I didn't think I'd ever see it again. And we have our soldiers are merit-based too. And they're central casting. And they walk through that town, and I'll tell you what.
Mark Carney must think this guy is such an idiot. He's trying to be so patient and just get what he wants out of this. And he's just playing our country because Trump is an idiot.
This place is safe. It's beautiful. Now we're in Memphis, and the same thing's happening. You're getting the reports. The bad guys are saying, we don't want anything to do with this. And we're removing many people. In D.C., we took out 1,700 career criminals and sent them back to the countries from which they came, mostly led out by Biden and his people that had an open border policy. And, you know, Canada, you suffered because of that, too, because they'd come here and they'd go into Canada also. So we're like a buffer for that in terms of Canada suffered greatly by Biden and the open border, the policy of open border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted.
There's no policy of open border. What nonsense.
And these people were, you know, if you got 5%, 2%, now you were getting a lot of bad people. And we now have a closed border. You've done well. Yep. We have a closed border, and it's a really closed border. In fact, for 4 months, I don't even know if this is possible, but the figures were released. 0 people were able to come into the United States from the southern border. 0. And as you know, we've taken a very hard stand on drugs. This is also benefiting you. A lot of we call them the water drugs, the drugs that come in through water. They're not coming. There are no boats anymore. Frankly, there are no fishing boats. There's no boats out there, period. If you want to know the truth, we're saying, does anybody go fishing anymore? The fact is, we knocked out, probably saved at least 100,000 lives, American lives, Canadian lives, by taking out all those boats coming in. So it's, and now they don't come in that way anymore. Now they'll come in other ways, and we're not going to allow that either. So we've done a great job on that. But on crime, Chicago's a great city, but you can't be a great city if you have murders and if you have a lot of problems, and they do. And they have an incompetent policy, just like they had open border policy, anybody could come in. They came in from prisons, they came in from mental institutions, drug dealers, they came in from all over the place, and we don't have that anymore. This country is becoming we're a very strong country. Look, financially speaking, I would say that because of the tariffs, because of the election, because of the policy, because of the great big beautiful deal, it's what I added the word great because it really is. It's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of our country. We don't need another bill. It's the biggest tax cuts, I mean, when you think no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime for the people. But far beyond that, what it does is incentivizes auto plants and AI and all of the things that nobody's ever passed a bill like it. We don't need another bill. We don't need any more bills. I said, let's get it all at once.
Steve on YouTube says, Pam Bondi is a petulant child. Her professionalism knows no bounds, not even hiding she's acting as Trump's personal lawyer. Exactly. I mean, he literally tweeted on accident a text he was trying to send her. He made it as a tweet. They're not even good at fascism. They're bad at their own Nazi-style government.
It was greatly helped by our Speaker, Mike Johnson, and by the Senate. I'll tell you what, John Thune's both of those guys have been incredible. And we got a bill passed that I said, let's see if we can get it all done, because these Democrats are like insurrectionists, okay? They're so bad for our country. Their policy is so bad for our country.
Mark Carney is literally sitting back, like watching our country crumble, and he is like us. He's watching a civil war brew as the president of the United States calls the other party insurrectionists, when in reality, the real insurrectionist is the MAGA party.
I said, let's see if we can get it all done and everybody said it's not doable, because it's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of our country. And we got it all done. We don't need anything else. We got everything we want. And now, because of that, that's a big reason why the companies are coming in. You know, 1 year depreciation, 1 year write-off, 1 year expensing. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So they're coming in from all over the world. But to have a great country, you can't have crime. And
Maria on YouTube says, LOL, did you see Stephen Miller say the quiet part out loud, then glitch on TV? Trump is being fed bullshit by Miller. I saw him yesterday. I don't know if he's said anything today. I need to look up if he did an appearance today. But yeah, yesterday he was a mess.
We don't have crime, but we have cities where there's tremendous crime. And Chicago's one of them. And if the governor can't straighten it out, we'll straighten it out. Thank you. A question for the president.
Do you remain committed to,
Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to know how come the UK and the European Union have succeeded to sign deals and bring the tariffs down, and Canada still hasn't been able to do the same?
Yeah, because they're not located right next to each other. It makes it, in many cases, it's much better and easier. But
yeah, and if I may, let's be clear about the relationship as it stands right now. We are the second largest trading partner of the United States. We do a lot of trade going across the border where we're cooperating, first thing. Secondly, we are the largest foreign investor in the United States. $500 billion in the last 5 years alone, probably $8 trillion in the next 5 years if we get the agreement that we expect to get. Thirdly, there are areas, as the President just said, where conflict, maybe not so much conflict, we compete. There are areas where we compete, and it's in those areas where we have to come to an agreement that works. But there are more areas where we are stronger together, and that's what we're focused on. And we're going to get the right deal for America, right deal, obviously, from my perspective, for Canada.
They're being extra uppity today, but they're not asking him any tough questions, unfortunately.
including one thing that, wait a minute, easy, wait. So one thing what we are working very closely is the Golden Dome. That's the protective mechanism, and you see how that works. It's unbelievable. Ronald Reagan wanted to have it, and at that time they didn't have the technology, even close to the technology, but he was advanced, and we'll be working together on a Golden Dome for the two countries, and it's something that I think is going to be very important, especially when you look at the world, you look at what's happening. We want to have that protection. It's really amazing. The technology is unbelievable.
Mr. President, why do you say some federal workers should not get their back pay? Why do you say some?
Well, you're going to have to figure that out, okay? Ask the Democrats that question. Go ahead.
Mr. President, just to follow up there, I mean, the law says that when the government is reopened, that workers will receive their back pay. So are you going to defy the law there, or what do you?
I follow the law, and what the law says is correct, and I follow the law.
Mr. President, will Canada be leaving empty-handed, or will will Mr. Carney be leaving Washington with a deal on tariffs?
I think they're going to be very happy. We have a lot of things that we're working on that people don't talk about. They talk about, competitiveness. She's a very competitive person. And they talk about things that we don't necessarily agree on. But I think they're going to walk away very happy. I think so.
Mr. President, on all your trade deals that you've signed, there's been a minimum tariff that countries have got. When USMCA gets renegotiated, do you want a minimum tariff on goods between Canada and the U.S.?
Well, we're going to have tariffs between Canada, and, they have them with us. I will say with our farmers, as you know, they went up to as much as 400%, 250, 300, and even one at 401. We found one having to do with a very small product, but it was high. So we've always had tariffs between the two of us, and actually Canada was charging us very high tariffs on our agricultural things, a lot of our agricultural product, and that's one of the things that we talk about for bringing that down. So this is a mutual thing, but. We've been charged tariffs. Look, we're the king of being screwed by tariffs, just so you understand. And I'm not talking about with Canada. I'm talking about with countries all over the world. When you look at Europe, when you look at China, when you look at all of the, almost every country charged the U.S., we didn't charge them. Because we were led by stupid people in many cases. Stupid people. They took advantage of our country. They're not taking advantage of us anymore. If you looked at European Union, they're all my friends. I don't blame them. I blame our presidents. I blame our past presidents and, business leaders. But we are the king of countries that have been taken advantage of for many, many years. We've been paying trillions and trillions of dollars and receiving nothing at all. As an example, prior to the deal with Europe, where they pay a lot of money, but they're happy and I'm happy. The deal was good. It's a fair deal, but it wasn't fair. You couldn't put a car into Europe. You couldn't sell your agriculture into Europe. You couldn't do anything. And now we have it so that it's open. We charge them tariffs. We didn't charge them tariffs a car. They charge us tremendous. I said to Angela Merkel once, I said, how many cars have gone to Germany from the United States? And she said, well, I don't believe any. And I said, you're right. You're right. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. And they're paying a fair amount. It's just a fair amount. It's not, I could ask for much more. It's a fair amount. But the United States now is using the same thing that they've used on us. And I just can't believe it's taken presidents so long to do this. And again, we're going to treat people fairly. We're going to especially treat Canada fairly. But I can't believe it's taken so long where we get charged and don't charge them. Japan was a good example. We made a deal with Japan. You saw that, Mark? A deal with Japan. It's a much different deal than we've had in the past. But they would send us millions of cars, no charge. We weren't allowed to send them cars. We sent them no cars. I doubt you had one car go into Japan because we were restricted. They didn't.
This is absurd.
Want our cars. Same thing with Europe. Same thing with other places. So now all we do now is fairness. But fairness leads us to the most successful country there's ever been. We have some advantages over other countries, and we do have a great market. We have an amazing market. But you know what? If I let this go, if we didn't win this election, if we had these people that were running, that were ruining our country, destroying our country with their open borders and men playing in women's sports and transgender from everybody and windmills all
from
over
everybody.
the place, if we allowed that to go on for another couple of years, we would be, I'm not sure that we'd even have a country.
The Prime Minister of Canada is just casually watching our president continue to say the Democrats are insurrectionists. I'm not sure we'll even have a country. Like, wow, we are really a nation in decline.
Yeah, Brian. And by the way,
let me give you my handpicked guy, Brian.
I'm not sure we would have even had a country. And now we have the most successful country in the world. Brian?
Yes, sir. What is your message to Democrats ahead of a next vote to open up the government? The American people are saying, open the damn government. What's your message to them right now?
Well, they're the ones that started it. They're the ones that have it. And it's almost like...
That's Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, by the way, yelling, open the damn government.
A kamikaze attack by them. You want to know the truth? This is like a kamikaze attack. They almost, they have nothing to lose. They've lost the elections. They've lost the presidential election in a landslide. I saw the other day where Kamala said, this was a very close election. This was one of the biggest sweeps that anybody's ever had. Won the popular vote by millions, won the Electoral College by a massive amount. They said, if I got 270, that would be great. But I got, I think, 312 or 315, and they got 220. So, we won that. But we won counties. The big thing is counties. So out of all of the counties, thousands and thousands, we got 2,500. They got 525. It was a landslide. And we listened, oh, yes, it was close. It was one of the greatest victories ever. And it was a mandate to do what we're doing. And I hope, and Mark wants this as much as I do, we are very close to making a deal on the Middle East that will bring peace to the Middle East. After all of these years of millions and millions, tens of millions of people being killed, there's a chance to bring peace to the Middle East. In addition to that, I made 7 other deals, and they're, great. And we're,
he's like giving us his resume. He's like, hey, don't think about the fact that I'm doing a terrible job. Here are all the good things I'm doing. And remember all the stuff that I'm doing that's so good. But don't worry about the government being shut down because it's the Democrats' fault because we won the election so badly that they're just throwing a fit.
Things are happening with respect to Russia, Ukraine. That's one that last week, Mark, 7,812 people were killed. Soldiers, mostly soldiers. Yep. But 7,000, more than 7,000, almost 8,000 soldiers were killed. It's a crazy thing. I thought that would have been one of the easy ones. I get along very well with Putin, and I thought that would have been, I'm very disappointed in him because I thought this would have been an easy one to settle, but it's turned out to be maybe tougher than the Middle East. We'll see what happens with the Middle East. The Middle East.
Do you see him clapping? He's like...
Go ahead, behind, yes.
Is the fentanyl crisis over with Canada, with the Canadian border?
Is what?
The fentanyl crisis.
No, it's not over. It's never, I think it's never going to be over, frankly. But they've done, Canada's worked hard and they've done a much better job than in the past. We have very few people coming in through our southern border, too. We've worked with Canada and we've worked with Mexico, so we've made it a lot better.
Look, 80 is too much. 80 is too much.
Well, wait.
On fentanyl, any amount is too much. So we've gotten it down. It's down substantially. It's less than 1%, but it's still too much. It's too much at home in Canada.
A lot of people.
Yeah, we got to stamp it out.
On USMCA, are the two of you both committed to seeing it through in the renegotiation of that deal that you made?
Well, we can renegotiate it, and that would be good, or we could just do different deals. We're allowed to do different deals if we want. We might make deals that are better for the individual countries. I don't care. I want to make whatever the best deal is for this country, and also very much with Canada in mind. Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, on China, what more can the United
States and Canada do together to counter China?
Well, you have to be able to compete. They're a great competitor, and Mark and I both know that, and you have to be able to compete. We have big advantages over China for lots of different reasons, and I think we're doing very well with China. I get along very well with President Xi. I'm going to be meeting him in a few weeks, as you know. I'll be meeting him in South Korea. But we've had a very good relationship for a long time. But you have to be able to compete. To do well with China, if you can't compete, you're not going to do well with China. And Canada is very competitive. I can tell you that. Canada is a very competitive country. And I think Canada's done very well over the years with China.
Yeah, we have. But we'll do better together on that.
Mr. President,
Mark Carney's like, whatever I got to say to get this meeting over with.
On Golden Dome, Middle East, what guarantees are you giving your Arab partners that Israel will not resume its offensive after the hostages are released?
Well, the primary guarantee is once this deal happens, if it does happen, look, they're in negotiations right now, we are going to do everything possible. We have a lot of power, and we're going to do everything possible to make sure everybody adheres to the deal. Okay?
By the way, Israel already started bombing Gaza again, despite Trump saying that they're not going to do it. They don't even listen to Trump.
Are you concerned about the delays at airports, and how do you see the shutdown?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's they're all Democrat delays. There are delays at the airport. That's standard. And again, this is something that every day we put forth a bill. It's just a continuation. It's a very simple thing to sign and very simple to do. And I really think that these are people that I think they have nothing to lose. They have a party that's out of control. They have no leader. Nobody knows who the leader is. I look at people with very low IQs like Crockett, this woman Crockett. I never met her, but she's a low IQ individual. I look at AOC.
Jasmine Crockett and AOC, they're two of the smartest people in Congress right now. Enough said.
Talking about how if they want to negotiate, they can come to my office. She's not in that position to do that. And who the hell is she to say that? And then I watch Nancy Pelosi not knowing what to do. I watch their leadership. Look, Schumer is petrified of primary because he's not going to win probably against anybody in a primary. You know, Schumer did the right thing, but he handled it badly originally a year ago. He did probably the right thing, but he handled it badly. I think Schumer is incapable of making a deal. They are a mess. They're a party that has no leadership. They have, and they have no policy. You know, I think we have great leadership, but we also have great policy. We have strong borders. We have no men and women's sports. I mean, basic things. We're not going to take your child away and change the sex of your child. We're not going to do things like that.
None of those things happen in the Democratic Party, let's be real. But he has a point. The Democrats, they don't have good leadership and they don't have good policies. That's why we need a radical transformation of the Democratic Party. Otherwise, we're going to need a new party. But if the Democrat Party wants to be the left-wing party of the United States of America, well, we're going to need bold leadership. We're going to need policy that focuses on affordability so that we're not getting distracted by this nonsense they keep saying about transgender. Like, we're just going to be there for transgender Americans. Don't fall into their traps and let them trick you into thinking that supporting transgender Americans is going to somehow cost us to lose elections. How about we just support trans women, trans men, etc., and stop focusing on their partisan games, focus on making things more affordable, focusing on ending these endless wars, these genocides. That's how the Democratic Party is going to rise above the noise if they're listening.
What they're doing to the country is so incredible, and they got away with it with all their woke crap, and now it's stopped. And we have a country that's based on common sense and strength and intelligence. I mean, we have the United States of America, and I say it all the time. Other leaders have told me this. Mark hasn't yet, but I think he would. A year ago, we were a dead country, and now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. Maybe Canada. I'll give Canada, but because I do like Canada. But you know, we're the hottest country in the world right now. There's never been a country that has the kind of money coming into it. There's never been anything like this. There's never been a country.
Mark Carney's like, of course, Mr. President. Yeah, let's just get this meeting over with. Come on.
That if you take $1 trillion, that
Mark Carney knows how to deal with stupid people. Let's be real.
Would be unbelievable. We're going to have over $20 trillion invested in this country. There's never been anything like what you're seeing, and it's based on good policy and common sense and leadership. Yeah.
Mr. President, what is Canada giving you in return? If you say Mr. Carney is going to be leaving Washington happy, what's Canada giving you in return?
Well, you'll find out, but I think the people of Canada, they will love us again. Most of them still do. If you say only 25%, I assume a lot of them, I think they love us. And you know what? I'm not the biggest hockey fan, but I like it a lot. And I watched some of the greatest hockey games I've ever. How good were those games, right?
Yeah, very good. We're coming down for the World Series, Mr. President.
Oh, good.
Canadians.
By the way, your team is looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, the Blue Jays are looking good.
President, will you sign a trade deal with Canada that doesn't include supply managed goods like dairy, for example? If the federal government.
Well, a deal would include dairy. I mean, it's going to include everything. We'll do a comprehensive.
What a ridiculous question.
Have you identified programs to eliminate under this shutdown?
Oh, sure.
Which ones?
We have a lot. I'm not going to tell you, but we'll be announcing it pretty soon.
I'm not going to tell you because I have no idea. I'm just saying that because I want to cut Democratic programs.
We have a lot of things that we're going to eliminate and permanently eliminate. You know, one of the things that we have is some advantage, you could say, but because of the shutdown, which I think they made a big mistake, we're able to take out billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse, and they've handed it, on a silver platter. And Russell Vogt, he's a serious person, very serious person, and he's sitting there and he's getting ready to cut things. And this is something that was handed to us by, I assume, Schumer. I just don't know if Schumer has any power anymore. I look at your leadership, I don't know who to speak to. I'll tell you what, I'm getting calls from Democrats wanting to meet. I never even heard their names before, and they're claiming to be leaders. The Democrats have no leader. They remind me of Somalia, okay? And I met the president of Somalia. I told him about the problem he's got. I said, you have somebody from Somalia who's telling us how to run our country. She's from Somalia. He said, would you like to take her back? He said, no, I don't want her. Okay, you know who I'm talking about? Say it again.
How many permanent jobs are you talking about?
Well, I can tell you, I'll be able to tell you that in 4 or 5 days if this keeps going on.
So now, basically, Trump is holding the American people hostage, and he's threatening to fire Americans if the Democrats don't do this. And that's just how you know that this administration, they don't care about Americans. This is all about them wanting to kick people off health insurance and make your health insurance way more expensive. And if the Democrats don't cave and make a deal, well, then Donald Trump is going to start cutting people's pay.
Keeps going on, it'll be substantial, and a lot of those jobs will never come back. But you're going to have a lot closer to a balanced budget, actually.
What jobs are we talking about? The people who work at the airport? People who work at the national parks? Like what?
The Prime Minister has done that's making it more difficult to reach a deal.
Say it?
Is there anything that the Prime Minister has done that's making it more difficult or easier to reach a deal?
No, I think he's a great prime minister. I mean,
stupid question. Just a question looking for ratings. She's like trying to create conflict, trying to get some tabloid type question. What a joke.
He could represent me anytime. I will tell you, I'm not saying that because he is a very strong, very good leader. He's a nice man, but he can be nasty. He can be very nasty. Maybe as nasty as anybody.
How?
I think Canada, let me put it this way, I can tell you this because I deal with lots of leaders all over the world. He is a world-class leader. He's a man that knows what he wants, and I'm not surprised to see that he won the election and won it substantially, and I would think he's more popular now. He's a good man. He does a great job, and he's a tough negotiator.
So then what's holding things up? If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man, too. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. That could have been. I think you got that one. That could have been. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hard to finish on a better note.
All right. Folks, that's going to conclude our show for today. Hey, if you're watching on TikTok, thanks for being here. Next time, watch on YouTube. Just go to the link in my bio or search Josh the Progressive. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. I'm not going to be doing the TikTok lives for much longer, so I want to make sure that you have access to my YouTube. Thank you. And everybody on YouTube, thanks for being here. If you want to support my channel, please consider becoming a member on YouTube. You can also become a member on Patreon or buy me a coffee. That's a great way too to send $1, $2, $5, help support the channel. You can send a personal message and I respond to all of them in due time. If you want to just share the videos, follow my other social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Substack. That's the best way we'll be able to cut through the noise, cut through the algorithms, get the truth out there. And unlike MAGA, we actually watched that whole thing just now, absolute joke of a press conference, but we watched it. We made sure we covered it all so everybody can see. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Stay well, stay vigilant. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube so you never miss a live, and fight the fascist Trump regime. Have a great day.